just look into what you remember yesterday, and then we can go around. You can just mention one or two things which remained with you, as you had your rest yesterday evening.
We're back here again to talk about sacred flourishing, but today, religious for peace structure as mechanism for action. We see this picture here. You see this picture? So this religious for peace is headquartered in New York in USA. And you have the next, which is continental, that is Africa Council of Religious Leaders. And the headquarters is in Nairobi, Kenya. Then you have West Africa Interreligious Council. And the headquarters is Abuja, here in this office. As you can see, all of them. Now we'll go back to our slide. In this global holistic level, you see that you have the youth. The youth are very, very, very important. Very, very important. And that is why NIREC officially inaugurated the Youth Forum. And how were these youths put together? They were put together in line with the structure of the Nigeria Interreligious Council. And this structure has to do with the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the Christian Association of Nigeria. Recall that these two bodies own NIREC. And that is why the the President General of the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the President of Christian Association of Nigeria are the two co-chairmen. So they are two in one, like we explained yesterday. Why the youth? The youth are very, very energetic. They can be used for good. They can be used for evil. They can be used to restore. They can be used to destroy. So, based on that, we have, like in NIREC, we have co-chairmen of the Youth Forum. That is Venerable Abibolabi and Alhaji Akade Abubakar. So what I have explained now ought to be the standard for all IRC. What is the meaning of IRC? Interreligious councils. And like I explained yesterday, Nigeria is very unique because we have all the Christians come together under an association, Christian Association of Nigeria, and we have all the Muslims come under a Supreme Council. But I'm sure each country has its own organogram, like in Sierra Leone, in Ghana. And I want to let you know too, that it is only yes, maybe Arshad can correct, for as far as I know, it's only Nigeria, NIREC, that enjoy the largest of governments. Others are not sponsored. In Sierra Leone, when I went there, they pay for the accommodation by themselves. They pay registration due to belong to the Interreligious Council of Sierra Leone. Then when you go to Ghana, Ghana is like a one-man's business. Adokpakpo. They don't have co-chairman. When I went to Ghana, I paid for my accommodation. I paid for the accommodation of the Executive Secretary of Ghana Interreligious Council. I pay for my food. I pay for his food. You get it now? So that is to let you know that we are lucky. Ghana, they don't have an office. The Executive Secretary operates from his house. Yes. Sierra Leone, I think they have an office now. But Nigeria graciously gave us this office space, even though we are non-governmental council. So now we now go to women, and I'm sure I want this one to be captured very well. The last but two interreligious council, Aja Alima is a witness. When the women say, okay, and I'm sure Dickiness is here too, Jesolo, Jesus my witness. They say, okay, NIREC, you have put together the youth. What happens to the women? So what we did for the youth, that is supposed to be the NIREC standards for the women too. But fortunately for the women, they already have an existing woman of faith that has you are the no, you have Form 1 and one weekend. So your organogram, I don't know. I don't really know your organogram, whether it is like the youth own, where you have co-chair, women co-chairmen, but that is a topic for another day. But all we know is that we have women of faith in Nigeria, and Agatha, is it the president? Is the coordinator. So that is for the women. Then we'll have the next one is, that is, we're trying to explain the youth, interreligious council of women. That is at the local level. Then at the global level, we also have a structure that is Religious for Peace, that coordinates the whole world. Africa Council of Religious Leaders coordinates both Africa and all the regions in Africa. Then you have, we have explained the global, the regional, and the national. Then we have the local. But before we go there, let me show you something. This is the Dr. Francis Correa, is the Secretary General of Religious for Peace. He took over from Dr. Azakaram. He is the same person who is the Secretary General for the Religious for Peace. The headquarters is in New York, like I've said. So this makes it easy for him to coordinate both the continental and the international. So as an example of the West Africa, you have East Africa, you have South Africa, you have East Africa, you have North Africa. So for us here, the man you see there, Father Cornelius Omonokhua, is the Secretary General of the West Africa Interreligious Council. And the headquarters is in Abuja, this particular office. So now we go to the cream of the ice cream. What are the guiding principles to make all this work? So the principle of representativity, all right, recognizes that a person or group of persons can represent informally or formally concerns of a larger community. Religious for Peace is committed to assisting entire religious communities to cooperate with one another for the common good. Access to the spiritual, moral, and social assets of religious communities relevant to the common good must be made through the religious communities and their own structures and institutions. That is a very important one. It means that what they are telling us is that the African Council of Religious Leaders and Religions for Peace cannot work without the organogram and the personnel, the executive of each region. So if Religions for Peace want to do something in Africa, since they are international, I wish people can just stop distracting me. So the Secretary General, let us assume that the Secretary General in New York is different from the Secretary General in Africa, like when Asa Karam or when Vedley was in US. So ideally, if Religions for Peace International want to do anything in Africa, they cannot just drive into Kenya or drive into any country in Kenya, because Kenya is our headquarters, and start operating. They plan the program there and come to Kenya and tell the Secretary General in Kenya, we are here now, please come and join us. This is what we want to do in your region. That contradicts the principle of representativity. So what ought to happen is that when America is planning, New York is planning, before they start working on their template, they should call the Secretary General in Nairobi, Kenya, say, this is what we want to do with your region. What are your challenges? Can we work together? Then, listen down first. Oh. This can be done another time. Please, just 1 minute. So that is what I'm saying now. So now, let us assume the Africa now, they now want to go to different regions, right? Like Arshad is in here now. They have just finished from Sierra Leone, all right? So the organogram permits that they should, like we are doing now, you see I couldn't come until I come with him. They should call the Secretary General of West Africa to say, we are coming to your region. Let us plan together. Then meet us in Sierra Leone, or meet us in Ghana, or let us meet in Nigeria, something like that. So now, that is how it ought to flow. So we talk to say, thus, the principle of representativity also could mean that, yes, we have told you, but we will work on your behalf, but we will give you report. These are two options. So the first one is physical presentation, and representation. You may not be there, but they are working on your behalf. So, thus, the principle of representativity entails engaging the enormous range of already existing religious structures in multi-religious cooperation. For African Council of Religious Leaders, Religions for Peace, the religious communities and their structures are the primary actors. And the African Council, this is something they do very well, and I give them credit for it. Anytime they want to do anything with the Sultan, that is the President General of Supreme Council, they call me. Can you help us reach out to the Sultan? Can you help us reach out to the camp president? They don't go directly to Sultan. They've never done it. And even the mails they send to the Sultan, they send it to me. If you say, Father, please help us deliver this to the Sultan, help us deliver this to the camp president. Because they recognize the structure of NIREC. And we have done that very well. Okay, like 4 days ago, they wanted to get in touch with Niger Republic. They had to call me to say, can you help us contact something, and of course, I know the executive secretary of Interreligious Dialogue in Niger, and I called the man. Arshad was in the group, and we're talking French and English, and the Holy Spirit was interpreting. So for African Council of Religious Leaders, the religious communities and their structures are the primary actors. That is the meaning of just. So in multi-religious cooperation, Religious for Peace also recognize the unique role that creative minorities have within their own communities as they work to help their communities address new challenges. For example, if we want Religious for Peace and Africa Council to deal with us the way they deal with Sierra Leone and Ghana, that would be selfish. Because we are lucky, we are more organized than them, and we have local funding. They don't have local funding. It was when I went to Ghana that I had to speak to the Vice President of Ghana to please create a room. They did not promise they were going to give them office. Politicians will remember. I don't know if they are all the same, but when they when they promised me they were going to handle the case of Ghana, and meanwhile they already have an interreligious council in Ghana that they are funding, and that is not under Africa Council of Religious Leaders or Religious for Peace. Just like our what is it called now? That is conflict resolution. You still remember? Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution. That one is government-owned entity, and that one is under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Just as we are under the under Office of the Secretary to Government of the Federation. So now, continue with the representativity. It is important to note, however, that the notion of representativity functions as a principle, not a rule. Did you get it now? I was talking about how they need to. It's not compulsory that they must tell me, you must follow us to Sierra Leone, you must follow us to Ghana. It's not a rule, but it is an ideal. And also it depends on the convenience. This convenience has to be physical convenience and financial convenience. Good. Now, thus, Religious for Peace believes that the principle of representativity needs to be interpreted at every level of religious community and applied to groups typically excluded from official positions in religious leadership. Consonant with this understanding, Religious for Peace has taken affirmative action to ensure that representatives of religious women and youth group are among Religious for Peace leadership. Nevertheless, significant additional steps need to be taken in this regard. See section F for details. So what are we saying? Like here now, let me just say, basically, we are here as youth and women. Where are the elders? Where are the emirs? Where are the archbishops? Where are the bishops who are members of NIREC? They are not here. They are to supervise us. They are to see that things are done properly. We are the foot soldiers. They are the office planners while we execute for them. All right? So now there is a very serious one here, subsidiarity. So before we go, let me first of all explain what is subsidiarity. Permit me to use the Catholic social teaching. This principle guides social organizations. Subsidiarity, solidarity, and the human good. So when it talk about subsidiarity and solidarity, the goal is what I call common what? Good. So local control. That matter should be handled by the smallest, most local competent authority possible rather than a higher level. Then you have personal empowerment. Individuals are small groups like families or local communities keep their freedom and responsibility to solve their own problems. Then, the principle of solidarity. You have higher intervention. A larger central authority or government should always step in when local groups cannot adequately fix an issue on their own. Human connection. We are all one human family and share a mutual responsibility for the well-being of others. Empathy in action. Seeing the struggles of our neighbors or other nations as our own and working together for justice and peace. Support over neglect. Ensuring that powerful groups do not ignore or discard vulnerable people. So, how do they work together? That is subsidiarity and solidarity. We have what they call balanced partnership. So subsidiarity stops big government from taking away personal freedom, while solidarity stops people from being selfish or ignoring the poor. The shared goal. Both principles must be used together to protect human dignity and build a fair society focused on the common good. I just want that dictionary clarification. So now we come to the Religious for Peace concept of subsidiarity. That is Religious for Peace Africa Council for Religious Leaders. So the principle of subsidiarity is designed to ensure that appropriate leadership occurs on every level of a religious council, and that all levels are organically linked to one another. Is there any scientist here? Organic. What is organic? What is the simple meaning of organic? Can somebody tell us? Organic? Okay, that is natural. What is organ in terms of the human physiology, physiognomy? What does the organ do for the body? So supportive system, good. I just want us to a little bit break it down. So the principle makes clear that local leadership applies at the level of sub-national units, national leadership at the national level, regional leadership at a regional level, and world leadership at the international level. We are going back again to our office in New York, Nairobi, and the different countries. So the principle of subsidiarity also clarifies reciprocity among all levels. Reciprocity, that is, they say, let me describe it like this. Look at me. Ubonarere, laborek, begekola. That is, this hand will bring, this hand will bring. Then you can now wash your two hands together. Clean. That is exactly what I'm saying, or what we are saying. So the principle of subsidiarity also clarifies reciprocity among all levels. No level can disregard the principles that guide the entire organization, but each restricted level is included in and is part of all broad levels of organizations. What are we saying here? There is no question of usurping. For example, now, I'm now treating NIREC as my personal property. It cannot work. So this principle allows for inclusive, representative, participating regarding situations that affect the whole organization, but also ensures that local actors remain the agent of their own affairs regarding local issues. In other words, no, let me just use this office as an example. I am the executive secretary. I should not be seen doing the work of a secretary. I should not be seen doing the work of a protocol officer. I should not be seen doing the work of administrative secretary. I should not be seen doing the work of a driver. Everybody, mind your work, mind your business, and do it very well. Then there must be coordination. Now, how are you doing your secretary work? How are you, the media assistant, how are you doing your own? Then by the time we now bring all this together, it becomes a collective whole. So the principle of subsidiarity is designed to ensure that appropriate leadership occurs on every level of interreligious council, and that all levels are organically linked to one another. This year I was talking about the uniqueness of roles. Okay. So the principle makes clear that local leadership applies at the level of such national units. Regional leadership at a regional level, and world leadership at the international level. The principle of subsidiarity also clarifies reciprocity among all levels. No level can disregard the principles that guide the entire organizations, but each restricted level is included in and is part of all broader levels of organization. This principle allows for inclusive representative participation regarding situations that affect the whole organizations, but also ensures that local actors remain the agent of their own affairs regarding local issues. So Arshad has explained that is the independence of local organization. But like what he talked about Ethiopia, I had to echo it because I'm hearing that for the first time, and it is very unique. It's like in Nigeria, you have different types of NGOs dealing with conflict and others. The Bible says, test the spirit, which I found out which of them is the Holy Spirit and which of them is the evil spirit. We are the Lord, because we have an experience, at least Ajay, you are aware of this, in Borno State. So many NGOs saying they are coming to take care of the IDPs. Many of them, they collect a lot of grants from foreign nations. That food never get to the IDP. It has happened. I hope it's not happening again. So, and now the question is, one man just wake up one bright morning and starts a church. I'll give you an example. But he claimed to be healing people. Those who are following don't even know the agenda of the founder of that church, but they are following. Then somebody wakes up one day. A lot of them come to my office. They want to start. We are an NGO. So what we now did, actually, this is important for you. We now discover that if a pastor comes to my office and said he want to register an NGO and he do, I'll say go and bring a letter from CAN. If he's a Muslim, go and bring a letter from Supreme Council. So that they don't drag you into what you don't understand. Because people have a lot of hidden agenda. And this is why these local actors, their independence is good, but we need to know their modus operandi and their modus vivendi. That is their rules of operation and their laws of operation. So this principle of solidarity is a core principle at building the cohesion of the interreligious councils by binding members to stand in solidarity with each other in times of challenges and difficulties. At least let me be positive here. In Jos, there was a Malam. You know the name of that Malam. During conflicts, he was able to save close to 100 Christians in his mosque. You remember the name? So, it's late now. When the man died, even International Network, You saw the letter I wrote on behalf of NIREC about him. And I also did a video recording about him. It was so wonderful. And again, I give you an example of this local independence. When you want to talk about interreligious connection, Jos is number one. And I can say this confidently because that time it was alleged that some Fulani travelers were killed in Jos. So what now happened? In our meeting, we were discussing it in NIREC meeting. So the co-chairman suggested that we have to go to Jos. But Mustafa provided an aircraft. They now said, okay, let us call it Plateau Consultative Forum. We went there. So when we got to Jos, the first impression we got is it the same place where we are expecting fire? Is it the same place where we are expecting Christian and Muslims to be slaughtered? But something had happened. There was division of labor. The Sultan was calling the prominent Fulani people in Jos to tell them, look, no reprisal. Then camp president was calling the prominent Christians in Jos to say, make sure there is no fight. We are coming. And that was how that problem was resolved. So, in as much as local independence is very important, they still need networking from the central. Yeah. So, this is especially important. Before I continue, do you know that there is nothing I do in NIREC? I just send report to your office. Everything, even the webinars, I get 2 people involved. Like I just hope that Kuria will remember. He's supposed to handle the webinar on Tuesday himself at Bentley on this same topic, sacred flourishing. So this is especially important when religious communities that are members of the Interreligious Council are subject to threats, intimidation, and discrimination by agencies and forces, either from government or public affairs. Now, I want to make a clarification. Yesterday, when Sister Agatha came to talk to us, he said, I am not one of you. I'm not your member. That is wrong. That is a lie. You know why that is? Because as long as you are a Christian, as long as you are a Muslim, you belong to Nigeria Interreligious Council. The 60 members, 30 Christian, 30 Muslim, are just representatives. There was a day the Sultan called me. He said, Father, all these people posting all this, don't be deleting them. It's helping us to know how Nigerians think. So, because there were some messages I deleted, there was one about him that I deleted. Then when me and Dr. Rosilla now went to visit him this last time, he said, Father, sometimes when you delete us, you say, I laugh. He said, did you not hear that they say I went to Pakistan to learn art of terrorism to kill people? And I said, Your Eminence, when they say it, what do you do? He said, I laugh because I know it is not true. You get what I mean now? So, we all, because NIREC is for all Christians, and that is the essence of that public webinar. So that you are not among the 30 does not mean that you are not a member. Like now, this coming NIREC, I've told the camp president, I'm still going to tell the Sultan, and we have said it's a resolution we are going to take, that we write to the woman, to her, since it's the coordination, okay, come for the meeting, come and give report, like he did the other time. So the question of, I'm not a member, I'm not one of you, is really not there. And is he not the one that called you people? Did I invite you? She's the one who invited you people. I said to him, bring your women for this training. So I just want to let you know that that statement is a fallacy of extended middle, what they call lascious hook in Latin. So the principle of representativity, are we together? Yes. That principle of representativity is where this 30 Christian, 30 Muslim comes in. That in every organization, you cannot have the whole crowd. I mean, everybody there. The institution, the Muslims are represented, the Christians are represented. let me give you a little shock. You laugh a little. When I was the secretary of Mission and Dialogue, Monsignor Adigwe was the director. There are two statements he used to hammer into my head. The first statement is, he said, a good director is a director who has a good secretary. Principle of representativity, right? That if you are a director, you don't have a good secretary, you cannot perform well. Donald Duke said, when you see a political leader misbehaving, it's because he has no good wife. Then now, he made the last one, the one that is very true. He said, in a committee, he said, a committee of 3 work better when 2 are absent. Can you repeat what I said? A committee of 3 work better when 2 are absent. What he is saying is that sometimes you are a committee of 3 to do something, and the other 2 are sluggish. Then if you want to say, let me wait for the other 2, that thing will never be done. So you will work on it. Okay, take for example, we were supposed to write a letter to National Assembly. Even me, I forgot. It's only Aja who remembers. In fact, he will call me. He will send message. Yesterday, I had to do handwritten and said to me, I said, okay, we will handle this. So, yes, the principle of, like now, if I sit in this office, I said, okay, if I want to do a PowerPoint, I must wait for my secretary. If I want to book an appointment, I will never do anything. I will be like a driver, a man whose driver took to somewhere, and there was a little quarrel, and because the driver know that the man does not know how to drive, he said, please carry your key, I'm off the duty, and he left. And the man was abandoned with his vehicle. With his limousine, and he took the bike and left. So in Esako we say aragboke akwe, aragboke loya. He say when you are on a race, don't wait for anybody. You just keep going. And it's a very strong principle. And my mother and my dad will put it that when you pass, he said when you pass a road, you must leave a mark. Anywhere, put a mark by which you will be remembered tomorrow. So, the principle of representativity, subsidiarity, and solidarity are complementary. They complement each other. And they are necessary. Necessarily, to understand them together. Each cannot stand on its own. You cannot say because of complementarity, you have to wait. You don't say because of solidarity, you have to fold your hand. No, action must continue. They encourage the development of structures and program responsibilities that are mutually supportive and respectful of the different capacities for action at each level of the organization. So, what are we saying in effect? I started with all these levels. So what we are saying in effect is that we have the principle of representative, that we represent one another in our action, and that is why we have 30-30 youth, 30-30 adults. Even at the women level, like when I came from Kenya, Sister Agatha said, how often do you people meet? He said, we don't meet often because of financial crisis. I say, what of that you meet electronic? Say, Can you invite me to any of your meetings? At least let me see what the women are doing. You say, why do you want to invite us? People recognize the women now. There's never a time NIREC never recognize women. That one person is not there as a representative does not mean that the whole group is abandoned. You get it now? So I say, okay, this is what we are going to be doing. I say, okay, we are having this program, invite your women. And that is how we put it. So with this, I think I'm done with this presentation. So any question? Contribution?
Commonwealth institution. So the question is, how do we turn these ideas into action? And this is where the Religions for Peace action method comes into play. So now, so this is the method. Again, I'm saying I'm going to go very fast, yeah? So when we want to now to turn these ideas into action, look at a problem, you know, discern it, analyze it, go deeper to the point of developing an action plan and monitoring. It is not so different. It is important to mention this is not a project cycle. You know, we all know in a different capacity you have project cycles. You know, you will come up with a project, develop a proposal, a concept note, and all that. Yeah. So what the first step in the Religions for Peace action method, when you're looking at a challenge, looking at the challenge through the shared sacred worldview lens. Number two, addressing the problem behind the problem. Number three, building consensus before action. That is why we touched on Religions for Peace structures as mechanism for action. You're all on the table. You need to build consensus before taking action. Mobilize the right religious and community assets. We're going to talk about what assets are. Develop and implement an action plan. Build partnerships and collaboration. Monitor, learn, document, and share success. I want you to highlight the word document, documentation. We lack this a lot in our structures as IRCs. So many IRCs. We do a lot of work, we do so much, but you don't document. And if you don't document, we can't learn. Or other people don't get a chance to learn from us, yeah? So we'll go through each one. So looking at the challenge through a shared sacred worldview. How does the SSW help us understand the challenge? Yeah? Mentioned yesterday, looking at, you know, asking yourself different questions. Instead of seeing only crime, poverty, conflict, corruption, we also see broken relationships, forgotten sacred values, wounded dignity, weakened institutions, damaged creations. Some of the questions you can ask yourself: how is sacred dignity compromised? How are relationships damaged? What will restore flourishing? What will restored flourishing require? That is start to make sense. Yeah? Number two, addressing the problem behind the problem. You need to look beneath the surface. The visible problem is not enough. You need to look at the underlying causes. So you ask yourself, what reductionist assumptions are present? What are reductionist assumptions? Who can guess very fast? The dominant worldview approach. What are the reductionist assumptions are present? Where are people, nature, or communities instrumentalized? Again, the dominant worldview. Yesterday we talked about mechanistic thinking, the mechanistic principle of the dominant worldview concept. Yeah, you know, the control, measure, statistics. So instrumentalization of people or nature. You know, these are just statistics. You know, nature is just a resource. Yeah. So what spiritual, cultural, or moral fractures exist? Some of the questions you can ask yourself, and this is just an example. Yeah, that for example you have religious violence, possible deeper causes. Could be fear, could be political manipulation, historical grievances, could be poverty, but then you go deeper now. You have to go deeper into asking some of these questions. What spiritual, cultural, moral fractures actually exist? Deeper than this. Yeah? So because if it is misinformation, perhaps it's or exclusion, then you're talking about trust. You know, there is no trust. Sorry. There is no trust within the community. Yeah? So the Religions for Peace action method focuses on the roots rather than the symptoms. Yeah. Number three, build consensus before action. You have the structure. interreligious council. You have the women network. You have the youth network. So do you agree on the problem? Do you agree on the root causes? Do you share the same vision? Do you understand each other's concern? What values unite us? Very important that consensus does not mean everyone agrees on everything. So you don't have to say, oh, no, now we're in agreement. No. So long as you commit, everyone commits to a shared purpose. Yesterday you touched on the river. If the river is polluted and you want to address the pollution, so you will say, no, we have to agree that actually this river is polluted. So one has to say, no, I don't think it's polluted that much. The other says, no, I think it's polluted a lot. I mean, we know it's polluted. We have the same purpose, yeah? So we don't have to agree on everything, isn't it? An example, these are different religious leaders, Muslim, Christian, traditional religious leaders, government, and youth organization may hold different perspectives on drug abuse. But they can agree that every young person deserves dignity, hope, and that is starting to make sense, yeah? Number 4, unfortunately, we'll take the T after we finish. Mobilizing religious and community assets. So every community already has assets. The question is, what strength already exists that you can build upon, yeah? So and we're going to go over examples of religious assets. What are examples of religious assets? Who can try? A religious asset. When you're talking about an asset, an example of a religious asset. Human resource. Deeper, a bit deeper. An example of a religious asset. Our mosques, our churches, shrines, those are assets. True or false? The schools, it could be madrasa, Sunday school. Those are assets. Is it? Hospitals, those are assets, isn't it? But then you can differentiate them into different. You can have physical assets. You can have spiritual assets. The sermons, that's an asset. Yes, exactly. Human resource. The interreligious council is an asset. Yeah? So this is very important, by the way, to understand what assets are. So what assets do you possess? The scriptures, the Bible, the Quran, those are assets. Yeah? We could go deeper. Community assets, strengths that already exist within the society. Talked about the institutions yesterday, common good institutions. That's where it comes in, yeah? So every community has unique strength, yeah? Now, examples of assets. Religious assets, yeah? Scriptures, sermons, faith-based values, the different networks, women of faith, youth, could be, disabled groups, temples, churches, the spaces, meeting spaces, you have even physical meeting spaces. Those are assets, yeah? The moral authority that religious leaders have, trusted moral authority, is an asset, yeah? Them being as mediators, that's an asset as well, yeah? So again, because in the method, you have to identify the assets. So I'm trying to help you to share as much as possible so that when you identify the asset, you can mapping out the asset, you know exactly how to map them out, yeah? Moral guidance, it's an asset. Community assets, schools, health facilities, families, farmer groups, maybe youth organization, local business. I mean, the list goes on. It could be more than this, yeah? Now, you have the assets. I'll go back to this. You have looked at the challenge through the shared sacred worldview. You have identified the problem behind the problem. We are going to touch the shared sacred analysis. You have built consensus on what is the issue. You have mapped out the different assets. Now you develop and implement a shared action plan. And it's important, this is what we normally know about action plan, isn't it? We've developed action plan in different capacities. But now, when you're developing an action plan, you need to ask yourself such question. Does the proposed action protect the dignity of all affected persons? Does the action plan strengthen relationships? Does the action plan prioritize the vulnerable? Does the action plan respect the creation of the earth? In this case, ecological limit. Does the action plan consider long-term intergenerational impact? Does the action plan reflect shared responsibility? Does it encourage virtuous living? So you're going beyond normally what would be an action plan. Looking at it from the lens of the shared sacred worldview. That was the difference yesterday. There was a group that was presenting and said, you need to, I think group 1, that you have waste recycling, and all that. No problem. That's an action plan. But then looking at it from the lens of the shared sacred worldview, that is strengthen relationships. So if you have you recycle waste, will it protect the dignity of all affected persons? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Yeah. Build partnerships and collaboration. So you have mapped out your assets. You have identified that you have gaps. You cannot do everything alone, isn't it? Because you don't have everything. Yeah. If it was something legal, you have to engage the legal entities, isn't it? So now you have to build partnerships, isn't it? You have to build partnerships. And when you're building partnerships, it's very, very important to know, when you're building partnerships, be very careful not to self-inflict yourself or self-amputate by removing the sacred for the sake of the partnership. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Yes. You don't remove the sacred. You self, no. I mean, we just want the money. So you're self-amputating yourself. Yeah? By removing the sacred. So you no longer care about dignity. You no longer care about the creation. The partnership. So you're looking at partnerships which, consider the grounding in the sacred. Yeah? Understood? So that's why you're talking about aligned partnerships, grounded in the sacred, not just any partnership. Aligned partnerships and collaboration, yeah? They should be rooted in the shared sacred worldview. The last but not least, monitor, learn, share success. So the question you ask yourself, how do you measure success? Normally we measure success, we have the different ways that the common global language. But in this case, you can measure by asking yourself, has the dignity increased? Have the relationships improved? Have the institutions become stronger? Has collaboration, has the community moved closer to a shared sacred flourishing society? You see now how different that is. Because it may not be in terms of statistics. Yeah? Dignity, how do you measure dignity? You understand? So you have to ask those difficult questions. I don't know if there are questions still there. We have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. Is there any question before I go into this very fast? Is there any question, burning question? Yes? No? No? Okay. Very bright. All right. Good students. Oh, wow. I should have finished yesterday then. So what is shared sacred analysis? I talked about identifying the problem behind the problem. So this is a framework that will help you analyze the problem deeper. So in the shared sacred analysis, you're asking yourself, how does the shared sacred worldview help understand this situation? So this is just to help you how you're going to identify the problem behind the problem. Yeah. So instead of asking what, you ask why. Again, you may see repetition because we're talking about the problem now. Yeah. You are getting deeper. Now this tool is to help you get deeper. I've already touched on some of those questions. So when you're looking at the shared sacred worldview, using the shared sacred analysis, you're not looking at it from a technical point of view. You're looking at it from a value-based position. You're looking at it from a relational position. Yeah, how does it relate with one another? How do we relate with one another? Remember yesterday, the person, the society, you have to relate with one another. The person as an individual, yeah? So you look beyond the symptoms. So, and these are the steps. So, you can see this tying into the reduced peace action method. You have the problem, you look at the visible symptoms, you look at the underlying causes. You might ask yourself deeper, what may be the broken relationships? What may be the forgotten sacred worldviews? How can that be restored? What are the opportunities for healing? This is very deliberate. What are the opportunities for healing? Because healing is what restores the wholeness of a person. Isn't it? Healing is what restores the wholeness of a person. So, I mean, we will have done an exercise here, but we'll skip that, yeah? So I took an example. So, and this example is based on a case in Sudan and South Sudan. 2025, early 2025, as some of you might know the case of Sudan and South Sudan. South Sudanese, when there was conflict, a number of people migrated to northern Sudan as refugees. Yeah? When Sudan broke into war, these Sudanese refugees, a number of them were crossing over into South Sudan to seek refuge. Yeah? In South Sudan, they call them returnees. I'm sure some of you have heard the name returnees. So in 2025, in the western part of Sudan, Darfur region, one of the militia, actually RSF, went to a village and massacred people. Unfortunately, in that village, most of the settlers there were migrants from South Sudan. So they were South Sudan origin. So what happened? Message flowed very fast. Went back home to South Sudan that Sudanese have killed South Sudanese. So in a very short moment, all Sudanese refugees across Sudan, and you can Google this story, across Sudan were in flight mode. They had to flee and rush to police stations to seek refuge. So all across the whole country for a period of like 2-3 weeks, they were sleeping in police stations. Yeah? Their shops were being burnt down and all that. Yeah? Because it was people were seeking revenge. So this was a case we will have used in this case, but as a case example, the underlying problem was violence. Yeah, the visible symptoms will have been the fear, isn't it? The underlying cause will have been exclusion. You know, what that has done, it has broken the trust and relationships between the two, you know, people from the two countries. Yeah. The underlying cause of that, I mean, would have been loss of dignity. Yeah? Because now, you know, the broken relationships, now you're no longer looking the other person as a human being. So loss of dignity. The opportunity for healing is what? Restoring trust. Is it making sense? I hope so. So the framework. Now this just to summarize. So the shared sacred analysis framework is based on this four, which I earlier shared yesterday in advance. Nothing new. And you ask yourself, what sacred values have been neglected? Whose dignity, because now you're looking at the person, whose dignity has been harmed in terms of the society? What relationships or institutions have broken down? Look at this. All institutions that have broken down. So institutions can also break down. The family can break down. Isn't it? The council can also break down. The communities, it could be civil society groups, can also break down. Yeah? So it also ties in there. The creation. How has the earth of future generations be affected? Looking at future generations. Yeah? We've talked about identify assets. Yeah? You identify assets, and assets, religious assets, community strength, common good institutions. We talked about the questions yesterday that you asked, yeah? The existing partnerships, we've talked about how we look at partnerships and opportunities for collaboration. So I will skip that. This was supposed to be an exercise, but now we don't have time. So is there any question? Yes, because where we have reached, the only thing will now be group discussion. When we come back, you are going to take a case. You're going to decide which case you want to take. You're going to use the Religions for Peace action method. Yes, and go into group and present, and then you conclude. So that's what I'm asking. Until that stage, are there any questions here? We have 2 minutes left. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? If there are no questions, well.
There are no questions. Maybe a good teacher.
It means some people might not have understood. It means people might not have understood. Yes, people have not understood. It may mean both. I hope people have understood. I hope so. The good thing about this is you'll find it in your toolkit. I will know. I will just give you a case, a very complicated case. That's the only way you learn. When you do exams, are you given simple questions? No problem. I have no problem with complicated answer. Yes. Okay. So is that okay? With the permission, Father, I think we'll end there. Yeah.
The mosque is not very far. It's not fight. It's not threatenable. It's not threatenable. What's that? You must use a car. How many of the men are going to the mosque? Not just men.
Circuit analysis framework. I can correct it right now. Yeah. The shared circuit analysis to develop your response. Okay. So what you do, okay, so to develop your, sorry? No problem, no problem. That's just a typo, yeah? Yeah, to develop an issue, to respond to an issue, yeah? And that issue, in your respective groups, you decide which issue you want to respond to. So you can take any case example within your context. These are just issues. You want to pick any, fine. You can pick any issue within your own context, yeah?
The issue that we treated is corruption. We analyze that what is corruption. We say that the corruption is a dishonest behavior of a people in position of trust or the authority for personal, they take the position of the personal. Okay, sir. I said our issue is corruption. Okay, my name is Venerable Demola Rolo. I'm here to stand for the group 1 presentation. The question said that imagine your interreligious council of faith institution has been asked to respond to an issue. The issue we took in group 1 is corruption. And we now analyze and define corruption as a syndrome that affects the community because the trust is broken for the leadership we have. And as a syndrome that have weakened the economy, the community, that doesn't allow development to take place. And secondly, it's an abuse of office. When the leader today that you put in the office, because of abuse of that office, they use the personality or in the individualism to take care of the position. Number 2, we go to the affected area. So that will go for the affected areas, development of the community. When a corruption deep down, there will not be growth, there will not be development, and there will not be success in the community. The economic progress will deteriorate. The youth employment will increase, while the public service health will not be established at all. And people will not have access to that area because of corruption. We now analyze the challenges. The root of challenges is what? 1, greedy. The most of our leaders that oppose the position or the leaders that oppose the position because of greed, it affects the development. Bad leadership, self-centered, individualism, and personal interest. The area where that was neglected for the cost of the share value and that was broken. 1, accountability. 2, love. 3, humanity. 4, empathy. 5, justice, honesty, and peace. What are the common values that unite different faith communities? The area where we concentrate are the mutual respect and tolerance, service to humanity, respect of life, forgiveness, reconciliation, dialogue, well-being, enhancement of the community. We identify the assets of the Corruption. What religious and community access are already existing? That's the one question. We have human access. We deal with the religion. We deal with religious leaders, youth, and women. We have spiritual access. Under spiritual access, we have moral, ethical value, religious teachings, prayers, and sermon. We have physical access, where the church already existing, the mosque is there, hospitals, schools, and health centers. Under the economic access, we have local businesses, farm, cooperative society, vocational centers for the skill acquisition. We have natural access. Under natural access, we have land, water, mineral resources, etc., and rivers. Under institutional access, we have government agency, traditional rulers, mosque, security agency, and as a court. Most of the leaders that I've talked today, because of they are disconnected from their what they preach to what they do. They preach the justice, but they don't emphasize on the justice. So on the action plans, we have the for the circuit analysis framework, we have the action plan for objective, activities, outcome, timeline, and who responds for it. One, we have raise awareness. The activities is seminar, workshop, dialogue, community workshop, and monitoring. The outcome increases public awareness, change of behavior and attitude. The time frame, if it continues, but you can break it to the quarterly or biannually. Who lead? The church leaders, the youth, and the women. The second objective, we have improve ethical values. To teach honesty, accountability, society, community, and all aspects area. The outcome is for more accountability leadership to be raised, while the time frame is continuous and quarterly. Number three, we have youth integrity. The activities to include integrity clubs in our schools and campuses, in our faith community, to give outcome of the youth behavior and to have youth ambassadors in every area of life. The timeline we have continuous, but the who lead is the youth leaders. Number four, we have public accountability as objective, and we have to the activities to encourage transparency and accountability, and this will lead us to improve the trust of corruption in our environment. If there's no accountability, there's nothing we can do. Corruption will continue to exist. Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you nail it? What is the action plan number one?
Okay. The action plan number one is the awareness, to raise a good awareness of corruption. Awareness, yes, through seminars, workshop, dialogue. Yes, through dialogue, workshop, and community advocacy. Ma? And that one too.
That one is there, but down later. This is at the beginning.
These are the objectives. So this is the action plan. One is it?
Action plan one.
Yes, one.
Action plan two.
Action plan two is to improve ethical values of leadership.
How?
Okay. Through teaching, accountability, society communication, and through the access areas of life. The outcome to give us more accountable leadership.
Action plan three.
The action plan three is a public accountability. Public accountability.
Public accountability.
Yes.
Are you going to make the public accountable, or they are going to be accountable on behalf of God?
The area we are looking at is that the leadership that put a position of a public position, they have to train them how to give account of their stewardship. Okay. If annually, according to the accountant, they only have a audit account of every offices. If the audit of the accounts can be given to public, if you are giving about 5 billion or 2 billion to use in your offices, there must be an audit report of that office to be given to people to know how the money was spent. Okay. The other one is the monitoring to get the good evaluation of trust. You have to monitor them, maybe quarterly, but it's a very continuous process. So if the leadership will know that there's a monitoring, the area of corruption will be reduced because they know that definitely they must monitoring. No, it's monitoring. Only monitoring. Yes. What we are looking is that we want to improve the economy because if the leader know that there's a monitoring for them to monitor the accounting period of their stewardship, they'll be able to reduce the accounting officer of the every sector. Yes. Provision. If you give a budget of 50 billion.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon once again. Yeah, good afternoon, Father. I'm Dame Mary Asibi Gonsun, and we're here. Sorry, I'm the rapporteur for Group 2. We're discussing domestic violence. That's the topic we chose to discuss on. And you and I will agree why the selection of the topic domestic violence. Like I was saying earlier on, we have discovered that domestic violence is becoming a menace in the society. Although it has been reduced, but then it is still happening quietly and secretly in some of our homes and our society, and whereby the people are refusing to speak up. Now, what is domestic violence in the first place? When you talk about domestic violence, some people tend to look at other things and say it is not. But in real sense, it is domestic violence. Domestic violence is a pattern of behavior used by a person to gain power or maintain power or control over the other person. Now, who is that person? This can be your spouse, it can be a brother, it could be a sister, it could be a family member who is living with you. Domestic violence is not restricted to a certain set of gender. It cuts across. It could be male, female, the children, both boys and girls. But in this case, we are restricting it and narrowing it to women. Women, we're talking of married women, because it's specifically said domestic violence. Now we're restricting it to women who are married. No, that's why, we are not arguing that. If you heard, I said it cuts across. But now we're restricting it to the woman. It is the woman. We have different kinds of domestic violence. We have physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, financial, and then, even stalking. These are all parts of domestic violence. Now, who is affected? Like I already said, the woman in this case now. But remember, I said it cuts across. What is the root cause of this domestic violence? It could be frustration, ego, jealousy, envy, toxic relationship, certain traditional norms which restrict the woman from being active in every area of life and making her look as a lower, being to the man. So that we could see in the story of our dear sister, Osinachi. That's a case study. And then there's one other story again, in Jos, which I told them we don't have the luxury of time. If not, I would have explained better. So, but now we have, in fact, like a case which we were discussing yesterday. A girl, it is trending now on the plateau. A girl who is betrothed to get married to a guy, You know, she now visited them. I think the marriage is just remaining a week or two to the wedding. She now visited the family. At least these are going to be, this family is going to be my family. She visited them. In the night, they heard screaming and shouting all over, you know. So she now woke her fiancé up and asked her, who is screaming? And he now said, it's my mother. And she now said, your mother, what's happening? That is the father that is beating her. So she now said, please go and help your mother. Why is everybody keeping quiet? And he said, you know, openly told her that she should forget about it, that the mother is a stubborn woman and she deserves it. Yes. So you could see how the woman is being narrowed to a lesser being before and then she becomes a punching bag for the man. Yes. So that is it. In that case, the girl in question decided to end the relationship there and then. And the thing came out to the social media and they were asking if she is wrong or what is the right thing to be done. You understand? But truly, 99% of the response is that she did the best thing. She did the best to quit even before getting in. We don't know how the father got himself in that condition. It could be a generational thing. And maybe in that family, they look at women as lesser, you know, lesser partners now that they cannot speak for themselves. So you could see that as a part of what I am talking about. Now, which sacred value has been neglected? When you talk about sacred value now, we're looking at it. One, the sacred value we all know here, both in the Muslim and the Christian. Yes, Daddy. Now, we're talking about the sacred value which has been neglected in this case now, in the case of domestic violence. Now, you could see that love, there's no love.
The first word that is declared is
respect. That's it. Respect for the human person. That is one. I have that too, except I did not arrange them like that. And then secondly, love. Love. Because the Bible says, and I believe... Or in fact, it is all encompassing. Yes, all encompassing. The love for a brother. Yes, yes, because that is the one. Because the Bible says what we should do. What? Love one another. You understand? The love of a brother. So that is it. And then trust, because somebody, as a result of jealousy, I still come back to the case of Osinachi. Because the husband is, you know, suspecting her. He does not trust her. He's suspecting that one of the gospel artists is actually going out with her. So because he lost that trust for her, and that generates that anger and the rage within him, you know, to want to, you know, deal with her. And then dignity for human person. And, okay, respect is, yeah, I've said respect. And then seeing the person of God in your neighbor. If you see the person of God in your neighbor, you will never have that heart to want to hurt that person. Now, which relationship has been broken? Which of the relationship has been broken now? First, the bond of marriage is broken. Because any man that will raise his hand on his wife, she respects abuse, marriage. Yes.
You know what?
Yes. Yes.
Marriage is not a contract.
It is not. It's a covenant, spiritual covenant. Yes. Legal.
Traditional. Or maybe religion.
Religion. Okay.
So which bond is broken? Is the bond broken or the bond is abused?
Is abused. Okay, let me use the word abuse. Thank you. I think the bond is abused. Let's use the word abused. Not really broken. It's too harsh. Okay, is abused. And then trust between partners and family has also been abused. Because the family of the lady will feel pained because their daughter is being maltreated. And meanwhile, Like in the case of this boy now, maybe his own family, they believe so much that you can only make a woman do the right thing through beating, which is not ideal in the girl's family. So you could see that there will be rift between the two families. And then both families' relationship becomes sour in the cost of trying to, help their own daughter. And then respect too has also been abused. What common values unites the different faiths, the different faith community? One, the common value, human dignity. Human dignity. Two, forgiveness. Three, love for one another. Four, do to others what you will want others do to you. The golden rule there. And then we have importance of the family unit. These are values that brings us together and bind us as one entity. What religious community assets already exist? Which religious community assets already exist? We have the church, we have the pastors and the imams, we have the women groups in our various religious communities. We have the community itself, that's the community leaders, and so on and so forth. So they are the ones who are already existing. Those are the assets that are already existing. And then you can now use them and then get them involved to see how you can resolve the problem at hand. Now, okay, 3. Community assets. We have the community leaders. If this issue becomes, if it escalates, but for majority families, they don't even allow it to escalate because of the fear of being called names. They don't want their family to be given any face in the society. And then maybe the mother is a woman leader. And then maybe the father is also a leader in the church. So in order to conceal their family secrets, they wouldn't want it to go out there. Because if it goes out, definitely the community will come in. And if the community comes in, it will take a further step. Another community asset, the family itself. The family itself, you need to bring them in, sit down as a one family. Yes, Father.
I'm sure everybody is following. Now, let us, when we are talking about those to be affected, right?
Yes.
Number 1.
Family.
Number 2.
Community. The children, the same community. Family.
Community.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that community different from the family?
The family, yes, they are different. They are different, yes, because the family definitely have their relationship with the people there. Okay, we have the gender department. Gender now, because
As a woman,
the woman now, we are narrowing it to the woman, the women folk. The assets, where are the assets now? What asset do you use? What are the assets now that you will use to mitigate? To mitigate? Yes. Yes, Father. All right. So we talked about the community leaders, we have the families, we have the women and men group, we have the gender department, and then the security agencies. These are existing assets which you can use to see how you can mitigate this problem which is at hand. Now, when I talk of security agencies, I'm talking of the police who are, civil a bit in their work. Now, which institution should be involved? First and foremost, institution. We're talking of institution that will be involved. We're talking of the religious institution, which is our churches and our mosques, because they tend to be given that attention whenever you come to see them with an issue. They involve them, they take up the case, they try to see how they can resolve both families and the traditional institution as well. Because sometimes when the religious institution cannot no longer handle it, they tend to involve your traditional leaders to see how it can be resolved. Because perhaps they know their norms and then their values, and then they know all their sacred values which they respect concerning marriage and the abuse of marriage. And then the government institutions, we have yes, Father. And in respect to what you just said, Father, let me add a little. I think this kind of great, involvement in such issues, I think in some communities is still valid. I remember, was it last year, early last year, a community in Iseluku, your area there, in Iseluku, the women reported, and, it is the same women, the women both, but this age group thing, they didn't allow the church to come in so that it does not tarnish the image of the church. But one of my women, who is a leader in the church, she's involved because it's her age group. They tied the man and flogged him, right? You rightly said. They tied him, flogged hell out of him. You understand? So I believe it is still valid in some communities, but meanwhile in some it is not. So maybe we can revisit that with another one. No, it is their traditional. Yeah, okay. So their chief will bail them out. So tomorrow you won't do that again. So now we have the legal institution. Please. All right. We have the legal institution. We all know what legal is all about. And then thank God for FIDA. We all know FIDA, which is the Women Association for lawyers, female lawyers now. So we have the security agencies, the police, and probably the civil defense, and so on and so forth too. And in most of these, institutions, they all have the gender departments who handles such issues. We also have the health institution as well. What collaborative actions would we as Group 2 take if we found ourselves in this such issues? First and foremost, we said we will approach the faith institution. Although we have two answers there. We said family first. When the family is refusing to understand, then we can now meet their pastors or their imam to bring them into the issue and then to talk about it. Because some families, because of ego and because of their reputation, they wouldn't want it to go out there. So they want to try and see how they can conceal it. But some families, again, they will not bring themselves down. They can decide to even threaten the other family who is affected. And in the cost of doing that, you could see that they will not have an amicable, understanding, and it will lead to bringing in the religious institution to see how they can resolve the problem. And sometimes, even when they get to the religious institution, it still may not work. And when it does not work there, they take further actions. For some, it may work, and they will tell them, okay, let's go into an agreement. If it repeats itself again, you can take further actions. But for some, it will not work. Rather, they will decide to go. In fact, they will have the guts to even threaten to report you or sue you to court that you have tarnished the image of their family, or you've given their family a bad name. So after that, once you do that, you meet them, you take steps from the family, religious, from religious, you go to security, from security, that's how it keeps escalating until it will become a societal issue. So, but if there's that understanding, it remains within the family level, and you will see that things will be settled, and then the family continues, and then they reconcile. And then the appropriate authority, which is the government, the legal, and then the community. Those are the three appropriate communities. Yeah. Yes, Father.
All these institutions you are mentioning,
Yes, Father.
are they coming for correction,
Yes.
for reconciliation, for community measures?
Yes, it depends on the initial reaction of the immediate family. One, it could be reconciliation, yes. But before you even bring this community in, these institutions in, definitely there should be a family meeting where they will sit down and try to resolve the matter so that the relationship can continue or the relationship will start on a new leaf. But in a situation where they don't have an amicable understanding of the issue, then these institutions will be involved. And that is how they will start trying to reconcile the family. But like I rightly said, some for ego, and some because they feel they are well-to-do than the other person, they will want to take it further. And they will say their name has been tarnished or they've ridiculed their family, so they will want to take it further. So, but those institutions really, they are there for correctional measures and then reconciliation and so on and so forth. But for me, I don't see the need. If you as a family can sit down and conceal your family secrets, the two families, because every name is very important. Nobody, no matter how poor or little the person is, nobody will want his or her name to be tagged to an issue. So I believe nobody will want it to even go out. So they may decide to sit down and have an amicable understanding and resolution of what started the problem or the abuse. Okay. The way I started. No, I can. No, I'm not starting. Yeah. Okay. Now, for Ashad's sake, now domestic violence, like the name implies, somebody wanting to lord it over the other person or taking advantage of the other. You understand? You know what domestic violence is all about. And we talked about the different ways you can abuse somebody domestically. Different styles and of domestic violence. And then I gave them a story of somebody whose father is abusing the mother, and then he said that she's too stubborn, he should go ahead and do that. So you could see that the perception the boy has about that, and that comes from the family. You understand? And then sometimes because of ego in trying to resolve this issue, some may not even want it to even go out there. So they'll want to conceal their family secrets. So that will hinder the other person and subject the other person down. You understand? So in the case of this as such, we said, how do we start, reconciliation? One, the family meets, family one-on-one, and if they don't have that understanding, that is when you start involving other institutions to see how they can help to get justice for the other person. So if the religious body could not assist again, they now bring in the security, you report at the station. From there, the security, that's the police. From there, it now goes into a legal matter. Before you know, it keeps escalating like that until it goes to the wife. And it talks about how will strengthen how will it strengthen the person affected for the common good of all. First and foremost, it rebuilds love and trust in the family. It builds synergy between both families and even the other institutions that are involved. Because sometimes in the course of bringing in such institution, maybe the person is in a higher position. He has his relations all over the institution and he will keep bringing. And in the course of trying to debate this, you will find out that it has broken a relationship even at those institutional level. So in the course of reconciliation, it will still bring them together and they will work in synergy. And then restoring human dignity and identity. It also creates a strong bond between community, families, the society. It creates a strong bond between communities, families, and also the society. It also makes the family and the institution a safe place to live. And in conclusion, we talk about proactive measures by collaborated institutions. When we talk about that, we're talking about creating awareness concerning domestic violence. Create awareness. You could be abused in different forms, like I enumerated initially. It may not necessarily be beaten. You can be abused sexually, you can be abused financially, emotionally, psychologically, in different forms. So, awareness, strong awareness must be created, both in the churches, in our religious institutions, in the society at large. Great awareness must be done. How? Workshops, seminars, workshops like these hours, seminars, in playlets, drama, acting, movie, and so on and so forth. We have a whole lot of them. On human dignity. Sensitization on of the woman. Yes, sensitization on the dignity of a woman. Okay.
It's not only women.
It's not only women. It's violence. Okay. Okay. It's for the purpose of this, sacred of a woman. Yes. Generally, it cuts across.
And the actions will be exactly what you mentioned.
Yes.
But when it's about the dignity of a woman, think differently. Isn't it? When you think about the dignity of a woman, you don't just workshops.
No, it has to be it encompassing, all encompassing.
It is okay.
Yes.
Now we need to also look at the actions.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I guess that is it. Okay, sorry, the last words. Yes, creation. Now, once you do that, it says it brings about, it creates harmony in our families, in the society, and healing to the world at large. Thank you.
In the new sticky note. Understood? Yes. Please write any beautiful words. The most amazing thing you can write, any words of encouragement for the name that you have. All right? Okay? And when you are done, I will kindly request that we come and stick them. Yeah, just stick, please. Stick, right? Stick. Are we done? Please stick. Please stick. Yes, Father. Okay, great. All right, now are we done? Is anyone left? So now, I'm sorry to keep you standing up. Now, please come and locate your name and pick it up and sit down. Please come and locate your name and take it. Locate your name. Take your time to read that particular message, yeah? Take your time to read the message. Yeah, just remove it and sit down with it so that you can give other space, yeah? Locate your name, yeah? Locate your name. I hope you're reading that. Yes? How does it feel? Feels good. Yes. Why? He's thinking of you in a good way. Yes, in a good way. Yeah?
been a very wonderful and amazing experience. I've learned to view life in general from a sacred worldview. Prior to this time, I was looking at life from a very dominant point of view, but I've learned to look beyond the layers, to look at healing and restoration, to see how our communities can live in peace. In reference to God's creation, I intend to use the lessons I've learned from this experience to train others and to pass across the values that we've acquired. I want to say thank you to the organizers of this beautiful program, knowing that this is not an end but just a beginning. I look forward to greater interventions such as this. I also want to say thank you to the co-participants who made this a very wonderful experience, trusting and believing God that this will continue to impact the lives of Africans across all religions. Thank you so much.